This is a SandyBoy Productions podcast.
Welcome to Finish Lines and Milestones, a podcast for everyday runners. I'm your host, Allie Bretnacher, and if you run, you're a runner, and every runner has a story. Join me each week as I share these stories and we celebrate finish lines and milestones together. This week's episode is brought to you by Noogs. That's Noogs, Noogs. Noogs is a super fun fuel brand that I've been using now for about a year. They are designed to taste like sour candy, but have all of the electrolytes and carbs that you need. They are vegan, gluten-free. They are women-owned and veteran-owned. And Paige Foote, who is one of the founders, was recently on this podcast. If you want to hear the whole story, go back and listen to her episode. But they have flavors like Blue Raspberry Blast, Electric Watermelon, Wicked Apple, Lemon Zinger. They have new caffeinated flavors, Poolside Pop, like those 4th of July popsicles, and Strawberry Lemonade. My personal favorite, I haven't tried the new ones actually, my personal favorite so far is the Electric Watermelon. It is so good. But pro tip, get all the flavors and mix them together, even better. So if you would like to try Noogs, you can go to noogsnutrition.com. You can use code ALLIEB, ALOYB 15 for 15% off of your first order. You can also buy them on Amazon. So thank you so much to Noogs for supporting this podcast. And now for this week's guest, Sean Conlon. Sean and I met years ago, and he doesn't live in Indianapolis anymore, but I recently got reconnected to him when he shared on LinkedIn that he had been running a 5K every day for over 6.5 years. And he has set a goal for this year to run 55Ks in all 50 states in 50 days. And I saw that and said immediately, Sean, you need to be on my podcast. And as luck would have it, he was actually coming in town to Indianapolis for a couple of days before the holiday. So I got to sit down in person with Sean and hear all about this journey that he's been on for the almost 7 years, which is crazy. That is over 2,350 days in a row running a 5K. And you'll hear us talk about it in this episode, but he nearly broke his streak when he broke his toe. Crazy that he got through that. But we talk about how he got into running, his entrepreneurial spirit. This man has started and is involved in so many businesses. It's hard to keep track. He is on his way to Austin, Texas to launch a second location for an organization called Paid For, which you can learn more about at paidfor.co. It is a community-driven workout that's virtual and in person that's designed for all fitness levels, and each event supports a local cause. So be sure to check them out and learn more about that. Sean has said for the first time publicly that he is looking to raise $10 million as he approaches 10 years of doing this 5K every day. And he wants to run across the country. So huge goals. He is so inspiring. He is unabashedly very passionate about his faith, and that is a big piece of his story. He lived in an RV for 3 years with his wife, Christina, and they went all over the US. He's just so incredibly interesting and, again, inspiring. And he is going to be writing a book, which I asked him about during the interview because I thought, how can he not? And you'll feel the same way. Also, what's different about Sean is that he doesn't do races. So he's only ever done 2 5Ks in his whole life. And one was a few weeks ago, the Reindeer Dash down in Florida, which you can he records every 5K that he does. So you can go on his YouTube and watch him run that entire race with his friend Bo, which is pretty cool. So I know you're going to love this conversation with my friend, Sean Conlon. Welcome, Sean Conlon.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Back in India.
I know.
I'm so excited.
I love it. I always say coming home because this does feel like home. But every time I'm back here, there's something new. Part of town's growing. I get to see old friends, old colleagues, and it's just amazing. I love being here.
How long have you been in town?
Just a day, but I've been coming back more frequently. I've got a deal that I'm running with a group here, a family office in town.
Okay.
And so we're just kind of figuring things out as we go, but have to travel up every once in a while.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad I caught you.
Me too. This is going to be
what a miracle.
So much fun.
It's so weird how that works. Like, I am never on LinkedIn, or I'm not on LinkedIn a lot anymore. And I just happened to be on there and I saw what you'd shared about running a 5K every day or no, you already do that every
Yeah,
day
I
for
do
over
that.
6.5
Yeah.
years, which we'll talk more about.
Yeah.
But then you said in every state, like
Yeah.
50 days.
Yeah, that's the
So-
goal for the summer, which we'll talk about.
Yes,
but
so we'll
yeah.
have to talk about. So I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to have Sean on my podcast.
And then I saw your podcast. I'm like, oh my gosh, Allie's doing this podcast.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's mutually beneficial. But I will say too, just as like a small aside, LinkedIn is amazing. I didn't truly discover like the depth of it until this year, starting in March. And man, I think there's so much value, not in a like go find more sales and do deals and that sort of thing. It's like the depth of a relationship that you can form and how fast you can go with people and then take that offline and really, develop it is unbelievable. So I've seen it in a whole new light this year. And I just wanted to say that as we're coming into 2026 for people that have been on the sidelines with LinkedIn. The water's nice. Jump in.
Man, it's another platform
I know.
for the content.
I
But
know.
yeah, I mean, in my previous life, when you and I met, I was in software sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would use it all the time to share content, to find the right people to talk to or reach out to. And so I used to be on it nonstop.
Yeah.
So this is a good reminder to get back at it.
Definitely. I encourage you in that.
Yeah. So tell people about where you are from originally.
So I grew up really first in Iowa, and then we moved to Indiana when I was in 4th grade, and we moved to Newcastle, which is just east of here, and lived there until pretty much my sophomore year in high school, and then moved to Noblesville.
You moved in the middle of high school.
I know.
How was that?
Man, I'll tell you, it was scary. I've been an athlete pretty much my entire life, and so you have a natural bond of athletics with people where you can go deep quickly with folks, in that capacity, especially as a younger individual. I feel like your bonds grow a little bit faster at that age. So from that perspective, I didn't see that or think that it was going to be much of an issue, but it's still unnerving, especially after being a freshman. So you go through all the hazing, of all the things, and then you have to go do it pretty much all over again.
Yeah, be the new kid again.
Yeah. And I will say, I had that moment that everybody dreads where you're at the lunchroom table. Like day one, lunchroom table, like what do you do? So I just went and sat down and, I love this area for many reasons. Hamilton County, all of Indiana, but Hamilton County specifically, there's just so many great people here. And I'll never forget, there were 2 gals that came up. I think they were 1 year younger than me, but they just sat down and started talking, and instantly I just felt anxiety kind of go to the wayside. And that was within, I don't even know, maybe 2 minutes of sitting down.
Wow.
So I didn't really have to deal with that, which was awesome.
Yes.
Which is there's probably a whole mini lesson inside of that. But yeah, it was tough. But athletics was kind of that one constant that as soon as I got plugged into that, it was pretty much instant that I started building friendships.
What sports did you play in high school?
So I did football, baseball, and track.
Oh, geez.
And then wrestling. But when I moved, I decided to basically just pursue, at the time, just one, and that was baseball.
Okay.
And then I did that for a year and a half, and then that's when the track coach at the time was like, hey, I really think you should do track, which I've always been fast. I've been a sprinter, and I'd always been, like, wherever we lived, like, and maybe there's some ego in this, but the fastest. And it was, I was kind of faced with this choice of, I love baseball. And I was doing really well. And which one do I pick? They're both the same season. I can't do both.
Yeah.
And so ultimately I picked track because I found personally kind of the most fulfillment from running, just in the context of maybe to that ego point, like it's an individual sport.
Right,
so
you can
I
be the
can,
fastest.
Yeah, exactly. And I can really push myself.
Yeah.
And I got to experience that when I went from junior year to senior year. And I think this was so foundational for me in becoming an entrepreneur, which I'm sure we'll get into some of the story there. But I just saw really for the first time what happens when you radically pursue input to determine with a high probability of success what that output could be. So meaning, I knew I wanted to get faster and I knew I wanted to run in college. And I knew that if I pursued my workout and my level of training in a different way than I had before and really just oscillate to that extreme side of it, that something good would happen. I didn't know what it would be, but I ended up doing that. And I don't know if they're still around, but I ended up going to Acceleration, Indiana. It was on 96th Street, right by the movie theater right there off I-69.
Okay.
And it was amazing. Like the level of disciplined training that they did during that season of my life was unbelievable in terms of the gain. And I went from being good and being, quick to that year I never lost a race until I got to state.
Wow.
And it was all in sprint, so 100, 200, 4x1, 4x4, and set 2 records at Noblesville, which they've since been broken, which I'm salty about because they were there since 1987. So it was a big deal, but yeah, they've since been broken again, which is, it's great. But I think our 4x1 record is still there. But I went to state that year for all 4 events. That's the max that you can do. I could have done 6.
Wow.
But I had to pick 4.
That's incredible.
I did the 100, 200, 4x1 and 4x4.
Wow.
And it was awesome. And, I know that probably sounds boastful, but maybe it is a little bit, but it's because of the input. Like that was only because of my drive and discipline to actually focus on the things that I knew I could control and controlling those controllables to get an output equal to what my expectation of my performance could be.
Yeah.
And it worked. And it was just amazing. And I know that set something in motion in my mind that carried me, into entrepreneurship and just showed, and that's the beauty of athletics. I think there's many, many things that we can learn, but just the capability of our mindset, I think is one of the most important.
I think about how I was in high school, where my mindset was at. And it just seems like the maturity of being able to see that you should go do that. Where do you think that comes from? Like maybe some of your parents and upbringing, like seeing that discipline elsewhere?
Yeah. So this is going to sound a little weird where I go with this, but bear with me.
Okay.
Because there's a big arc to this in my life personally. And we'll go back to LinkedIn. I've seen the power of LinkedIn and being ridiculously vulnerable and how much that helps. Not just yourself, but people around you. So I'm going to invert that a little bit and say what was inside of me was this desire that I didn't know was there to be seen because I felt unseen. And so my ability to perform and seek this recognition of, oh, people love me because I'm fast, because I'm good at a sport. It started to build something kind of unhealthy, inside of me. So I think if we understand that and know that, especially as athletes, and if anybody knows the Enneagram that's listening, I'm a 3-wing 4. So inherently my soul is kind of wired to like have this image-oriented nature of desiring to look successful or to feel like I'm achieving, to do those sort of things. And if left unchecked, it builds into these really unhealthy patterns. So I say that as kind of a disclaimer to say that if you can understand more of your mindset and your heart and your soul and how you tick and what drives you, then you can harness discipline in a way that's extremely effective because you're not harnessing it, in my case, to build yourself to be better and to seek even more recognition because you end up creating this feedback loop that never ends. And it only ends, frankly, with a ton of anxiety and fear and depression. And so I think if you look at it to say, hey, I know I want to get better as a runner, whether that's a sprinter or a distance runner, but I also know that my worth is not tied to that. So meaning if I don't hit the goals that I'm striving for, that, I'm actually okay with that. And I know that it's more about the pursuit of it and the journey than it is the actual end result. And I just wanted to be a little long-winded with that because I don't see enough content or people talking about more process-driven than results. Because we see the headlines, right? Like we always see the highlights.
Yes.
And do we want those? Of course. Everybody does. But look at the work that happens in the process. Because if you don't, you're going to miss your entire life, chasing something. And I just think more people need to talk about it and hear that.
Yeah. Well, especially as runners. I mean, so many people are just, striving for PRs or Boston qualifiers or whatever that might be. And they can get too caught up in the finish times. And then you miss experiencing the race.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is part of the fun. I mean, I look back on that time at Acceleration, Indiana, and I didn't even think we were going to talk.
What is that? Did it have like an indoor track? I don't even know what to picture.
So it was a, I don't know, square footage, call it maybe 8,000 square feet.
Okay.
Maybe it was a little less than that. But they had these treadmills that were wide tracked, and they go up to 26 miles an hour.
What? That's crazy.
I could be totally wrong with this, but I think the fastest human, it runs like 24 miles an hour.
Okay.
Something like that. So not even a human can run as fast as these things go.
Wow.
But you push yourself to figure out where your limits are, and it's a safe way to do it. And it can decline and incline. It's a cool treadmill. I don't know even what you would search for to look for this, but it's like a wide track treadmill. It's got a green belt on it. It doesn't look fancy. I mean, it's pretty basic, but it's incredible how you use it. So basically you would do these tests where you'd hold on and get going as fast as you possibly could, and then you'd let go, and you had to maintain that for 3 seconds. I can't remember the exact speed that I topped out at, but it was like 22 miles an hour, 22 point something.
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
It was fast. And it was very difficult to get to that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of cool places like that around the country.
I wonder if it still exists or something similar.
I hope it does too.
Yeah.
I really
if not, somebody should create one.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
for the running community, especially, they would love to have somewhere like that to go.
Right.
Were there like foam pits or something behind you on the treadmill?
No, there was, if I remember right, when you first started doing it, there was a safety harness that you could have.
Okay.
And then you end up taking that off. But one of the other cool, and I love that we're kind of going this way, not that it's like super tactical and specific, but this is my point, is I looked back on that time and I was like, man, that process was so cool. And here I am sitting 20 some years later, remembering what that was. And specifically, one exercise that we did that was amazing is we had bands that went around our ankles, and there was somebody behind us, and so it connected to your ankle and your thigh.
Okay.
And then it was connected here, and then there was a piece that went all the way back, and you had 2 ropes essentially that somebody behind you was holding.
Okay.
And they were bands, so it had elasticity to it, but you were working on your drive
Ooh,
of your
yeah.
legs, and so they were holding you back with resistance, and you're sitting there on the treadmill trying to go faster. It's like,
sounds so hard.
it was pretty wild, but I look back on that and here I am 20 some years later remembering how effective that was in that process and in that pursuit.
Yeah. And so do you have siblings?
I have 2 younger sisters.
Okay. So you're the oldest. That tracks.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest of 3 as well.
Yeah. So definitely geared, I think probably like every oldest child is rooted in achievement. And
exactly. I know.
leading.
It's so funny. It's like cliche, but it's dead on most of the time. Yeah. Did they both go to Noblesville as well then?
Yeah. They both went to Noblesville High School and then since moved. So nobody lives in Indiana. Or I should say, actually, one of my sisters did move back here. And then my parents live outside of Las Vegas, and then we're down in Florida.
Okay, yeah.
So kind of all over the place.
So you said you knew you wanted to run in college.
Yeah.
Did you get the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, so I went and did, I would say, the first year. And then as I got into training for that, I started to realize the rigor of being a D1 athlete.
Where'd you go?
IU.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's insane. And I'm an early bird to bed, and so the mandatory study tables from 8 to 10 p.m. were just crushing me. And then there's morning workouts, and it was in my context of what I wanted to extract out of college and life, it didn't really fit. Because I was faced with this, am I going to do the Olympics? No. Am I the fastest 100 and 200 runner anymore? Not even close. Yeah. Like, it was a whole new level. And so then the 400 became my race, which I loved and hated at the same time. Anybody that's run the 400 knows exactly what I just said. And started training for that. And just, I don't want to say that I quit, because I don't view it that way. I just knew that there was more that I was desiring to get out of college and what I was really entering into, and it just didn't fit my life anymore. Yeah. I didn't stop running. I just stopped in the context of pursuing it as, an actual D1 athlete.
Yeah. I think it's really funny that you say like 8 to 10 p.m. You went to bed earlier than that in college?
Well, not earlier than 8, but 10 p.m. Yeah. I mean, everybody made fun of me.
I mean, I'm sure, because it's like, hey, we're like, we're not even leaving to go to the bars until 2 hours after that.
I know the whole, what do they call it? Oh, pre-gaming.
Exactly.
Pre-gaming started at what, like 10
Probably
p.m.?
Probably at 10 p.m.,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I had my moments where I went and hung, but yeah, everybody always made fun of me because I was going to bed pretty early.
But you were doing the right, I mean, I could have saved a lot of, mischief in college.
Of course.
From if I went to bed at 10 p.m.
I know. Now my wife and I joke, nothing good happens after 8 p.m.
Right, exactly. I know. And now having, kids, you're like, okay, totally get that.
Yes, you take it seriously.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so you leave track because it doesn't serve you in college. What were you studying? Yeah. What did you want to do in college?
Business.
Okay.
Yeah, business. Overall, accounting. So I kind of had this inclination for numbers, in my naive brain. I'm like, oh, numbers, accounting, that's what I should do my entire life. And so I just pursued that. And I look back and I'm grateful that I did it, but getting out into the air quote real world, I did the accounting thing for a year, and there was just something unsettled inside of me, and I knew that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing for the rest of my life. I loved it, I was good at it, but I just knew that it wasn't something that I was supposed to be doing. And I'll spare the whole story, but I eventually discovered entrepreneurship, which is really what I was supposed to be doing. But I loved the Kelley School of Business. That's where I got my degree. I did a dual major in accounting and finance, and that has served me so well in entrepreneurship because,
I bet.
Man, it short-circuited so much learning that other entrepreneurs who maybe either didn't go to college or took more of a marketing or not necessarily sales, because I know that's not a degree, but something more in like the communications realm. They just didn't have that. And so I kind of had a leg up on, understanding cash flow of business and why is it important, and how do you look backwards and analyze, do we need to update our pricing? All the things that are driven by, at the end of the day, what runs a company, which is cash flow.
Yeah. What did your parents do?
So some people will know these companies. So there's two main companies that service schools for class rings, cap and gowns, and yearbooks. And one is Jostens, and the other is Herff Jones, which is here in Indianapolis. And so he's worked for Jostens for years, I think probably now over 30 years, but he did yearbook. So he helped schools put yearbooks together and then ultimately, sell them to the parents to enjoy the memories that people make during high school and middle school and elementary school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I don't think, so you and I met when you worked at Herff Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever knew that your dad worked at Jostens.
Yeah, a lot of people at Herff Jones didn't know that. Some did. And it wasn't like a spy op mission or whatever you call that, psy-op mission at all.
Yeah.
The way that I had arrived there was so going back to the accounting, I knew I didn't want to do that. So out of my ego, I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to start a business. And so I did, and it was doing large format digital printing.
Oh.
One of my first customers was actually Carmel High School.
No way.
Yeah,
How funny is that?
It was pretty cool.
Wow.
And then Noblesville, we did some work there.
Okay.
And it was basically just doing wall graphics and banners and things that schools would use to put around campus. And there's a long story, but the short version is I ended up selling that to a company in California, which is what moved me from Indianapolis to California to San Diego. And then since that company got bought by Herff Jones, technically Varsity bought Herff Jones.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so it was kind of wild how it all played out over the course of a couple of years, but that is what landed me at Herff.
Yeah. And so how old were you when you started your first business?
Man, that's a good question. Probably 23. 24. Something in that range. I need to actually go back and look at the math on that because it's somewhere in that range. 23, 24.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I could ask you so much about entrepreneurship because selfishly, I love talking about it. And also, but people listening who are runners are like, okay,
get to the
cool,
running.
Can we talk more about running?
Right.
During this time, leaving, actually, let's go back to IU. During that time, did you still run recreationally?
Yeah, definitely. I had never been a distance runner. If you told me to do more than one lap around the track, I pointed at you and said, you stop it. I'm not going to do
silly.
that. Granted, we did 800 repeats training for the 400. So technically 2 laps, I guess. But those were terrible. Just as a side note, I'm having PTSD right now. But yeah, definitely recreationally. And I didn't pick up distance running. And I know I'm in a good company here because we know, running lingo. So I actually wouldn't call it long distance. I don't do anything more than a 5K. So if that's more mid distance, that's kind of the category that I fit into now. But just did it for workout purposes, and kind of keeping the brain sharp and that sort of thing, cardiovascular health, all those benefits, and didn't really take it more seriously until I was turning 33, roughly. I'm 39 now.
Okay.
So, it's only been about 6 years.
Yeah. And so you do, to this day, have you done races longer than a 5K? Have you done 10Ks or halves or a marathon?
No. So what's funny is I don't even do races.
That is so funny. I love this though, because a lot of times I think about on this podcast, I'm like, we talk all about what races have you done? What was the experience like? But not every runner races.
No.
So I find that very interesting.
Yeah, I've done one. So to get to kind of the point of the story here is I've done a 5K every day for over 6.5 years. So today was 2,324 days straight. And
which is let's just pause for a second and be let that sink in.
Yeah, it was, it's sitting here. It's not a feat to me. It's not anymore because it's my daily, it's just something that which we'll get into the genesis of it, but it's just something that I do. And I've done one event or race in the 6.5 years, which was in Montana, which was an amazing.
I'm sure that was
5K.
so fun.
It was so fun. And I'm actually doing one. What is today? Thursday?
Is it? Yes, it's
I'm
Thursday.
doing one in 2 days down in Florida.
You are?
Yeah,
That's
which will
really
be my
cool.
second one.
Okay.
So,
ever?
Yeah, ever. But I would love to do, because we've got some friends that we met on the road when we did an RV thing, we need to
talk about that a little bit.
That,
I know
I'm
we
sure.
need 4 hours,
right?
But
and he's a marathoner, and they do all the big ones around the world. And I actually just had him on as a guest runner on the podcast that I do. And he was, sharing some of his story. But what was so cool in the encouragement that he gave me was, kind of challenging me to think a little bit, not bigger, but think a little more broader in terms of you should do a marathon. Because in my mind, I'm like, I can't do a marathon. There's no way. I know I could physically, but in my head, I'm like, that's way too long. Like, 3.1 miles is enough for me at this point. But I do, like, it's sitting with me, and I'm definitely, really considering
the seed has been planted.
It's been planted. But no, for me, and, kind of getting into the genesis, like, this was something that, and I'm unabashedly very strong in my faith. So I knew that God was working on something inside of me that I didn't even know at the time. And very slowly he started uncovering these different things that he was trying to teach me that I was just so stubborn and not listening. And so I'll spare the whole story, but basically I was turning 33 years old, and I had grown up in church, and I knew the story of Jesus and, his 3-year ministry that he had between when he was 30 and 33 years old, and he died when he was 33. And it just hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm turning 33 years old. And I started looking back at the last 3 years of my life, and I just, like, from a worldly standpoint, yeah, there was success as an entrepreneur, but I look back and I was like, it was empty. There was nothing, of any significance that brought, like, true lasting joy and fulfillment. And it just hit me. And there was this whole, thing that I went through in terms of just thought process and, like, depth of reflection and all these things. But out of it came a still small voice that just said, do 3.3 miles a day. That's all I heard. And I knew that was God speaking to me. I've never heard the audible voice of God, so I'm not saying that, like, I literally heard it, but I knew it. Like, in my soul, I knew that this was something he was telling me to do. And I wrestled with it because I hadn't run long distances.
You're like, wait, did I hear that right?
Yeah, like, I'm still not in this category of enjoying anything over a mile at this point. And I would only run on the treadmill for some cardio, working out at a gym. And so it was pretty challenging in terms of, okay, I'm going to do this, because on the backside of that, I didn't know what the goal was. I didn't hear the end of that sentence. And I think that was the sentence, was do 3.3 miles a day. And I just did it. And so the first day I went out and I did it.
Where were you at the time?
We lived outside Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
So we were in Franklin, Tennessee. And I did it. And then the next day I did it, and it just kept going. And, the first 90 days, well, I'll say it this way. I know there's a lot of science out there in terms of how long it takes to form a habit. I do think your mind, especially when you don't know what a goal is in terms of a habit that you're forming, your mind will do really interesting things to you. And I think there's aspects of, you get over that 21-day hurdle, and then you have the month. And then after the month, it's kind of like no man's land, frankly, until 90 days, because there's nothing else to baseline it to. And then at 90 days, I feel like that's when, for me, I was like, okay, we're doing this, and I've got it. I can do this. And I still didn't have any sense of a goal. I get through the first year, no goal still, and I accomplished a year, so that was cool. And so I just did some reflecting, and I ended up putting a small video together just of, like, the journey, just to, kind of talk about it and process through the emotions that I was feeling. And, sitting here 6.5 years later, the beautiful, beautiful part of this, really just obedience, is really what it was. Obedience, which then turned into discipline, is that every year there's been a lesson. There's been something that has been worked out inside of me through all the situations that I've navigated, whether business or personal, that was just so beautiful. And so where it is now is I'm not stopping. Like, I know finally, which this was 5 years in, I really felt the goal, which is to do it for 10 years straight without missing a single day. And we'll see after that. I've talked to some people about that since, knowing that that's the goal, and knowing that I heard the Lord speak that, and maybe it's the rest of my life. I don't know. There's only 2 people in recorded history, and there's one that's still living that's doing this every day. I think he's at like 13,000 days straight. So I have a ways to catch up. Because I'm at, much less than that. But it's been beautiful. And in year 2, kind of towards the middle of it in the summer, I broke my big toe.
Okay.
I broke my big toe.
That's a problem.
It was a problem. I was being an idiot. I was trying a one wheel, which are those.
Okay.
So it's one of the things.
Oh, it's like a Segway wheel?
Yeah,
kind of
it's
thing?
got one big wheel on it, and then there's a platform.
Do you kneel on it?
No, you stand.
Stand.
So this is where it got wonky, because I had ridden one before and felt like I knew it, but I guess I didn't.
Oh.
And so I've got Hey Dude shoes on.
Oh, no.
And I hop on with all confidence, like, hey, this is going to be fun, and get on, and it's a pressure plate. So basically, to stay still and not moving, you have to be perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. And so it started, like, wobbling like this, and then my back leg kind of came down on the pressure. And so then it just like kind of flipped out from under me. And so I, kind of go in the air, but I land like a ballerina with my foot straight down in Hey Dudes, which is basically like not even a shoe.
Like a straw shoe,
right.
yeah.
And so it just came straight down. It was literally the most pain I've ever felt in my entire life. I've never broken a bone. That was the first time anything like that had happened. And it was terrible. It was terrible. I was in tears the entire night from the pain, but because I felt like my goal was crushed.
Yeah.
I'm, over a year into this, and I just saw the conclusion of what I knew I was called to do, ending in a way that because of my idiocy, if that's a word, I hope it's not, because it proves my point.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, that I did something dumb to stop that. And the next morning I was faced with, okay, what do I do? And so I did it. I still went out. And was it a full-fledged run? No, absolutely not. It took me 3 hours to do it, to finish it, because I had to walk and be on my side the entire time.
What?
And it was extremely painful, but I did it. And this isn't a David Goggins story of beating my chest. What it is what I learned through that year, which didn't come until towards the end, is understanding what resilience really is, like the real definition of it. And it's one of those words like leadership, where everybody's going to have their own interpretation.
Yeah.
But for me, I saw it physically lived out in terms of what that means. And so very specifically is the ability for us to be stretched to a point of being wildly uncomfortable, to then be able to return to a baseline, but that baseline is further advanced than when you started and got stretched. Mm-hmm. And then it's your ability to continue to do that over time. And I saw it play out because day one was the hardest of all of them. Day two, micro or much less, however you would say that, like 0.000001% less pain, but still wildly painful. And so it was just a journey that year of healing, which took, I know, way longer than probably what it should have.
Yeah.
I never went to the hospital.
What?
Because I'm like, what are they going to do? I was reaching it.
Oh, they probably put you in a cast or something?
Well, they don't
maybe?
really.
Oh, they don't?
And I could be wrong, and this was pre-chat GPT. I'm looking on the internet and it's like, well, they just put like a little thing on there to keep your toes straight. And, and you're supposed to wear either a bigger shoe or no shoe.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I'm going to go spend all this money at the emergency room to do what I already know. And I could probably do it on my own. So I did. That's like probably true guy talk right there.
That is the exact thought that was in my head, was like, that is such a guy thing.
Oh yeah.
Tell me, okay, so your wife, Christina.
Yeah.
We need to talk more about her, but
yes.
like, what the heck was she saying to you at this time? I'd be like,
go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
I'm like, what? I'm showing her the same stuff on the internet. I'm like, hey, here's what's going to happen. We're going to pay thousands of dollars for, this little thing that I can like figure out here. And that's what I ended up doing. Man.
Okay. So you did it still every day with no aid. Like you didn't just get on crutches and do it.
No crutches, no cast, no so basically what happened was, I don't remember exactly how many days, but call it like 3 to 5 days. I fit my foot in that shoe. And what I realized though is that was not going to work long term. So I actually found some sandals that Christina makes so much fun of me. I still have them.
Okay.
They were reef sandals that, or there's another brand called Chaco, I think.
Yeah, I've heard of both. Yeah.
So it wasn't those, but it basically just has a thing that goes around here and then, one across here. Because flip-flops wouldn't work either because that thing right in between.
Okay, so it's got the one like toe ring looking thing.
Yeah.
So you got like yourself a Jesus sandal.
I did, exactly, yeah, exactly. So that's what I ended up using for, I don't know, a while.
And would you have a running shoe on the other foot, or did you wear sandals?
No, just sandals on both.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know that I'm so grateful that I didn't get like plantar fasciitis through that, because of my foot is perfectly flat too.
Weird.
Which I know. So I have no arch whatsoever, which technically, and I'll add one more thing, which is way TMI, but
whatever. You're in good company.
I have 2 web toes.
That's crazy.
So between that and being flat-footed, I was not supposed to be fast. Like those 2 things work against you in running.
Crazy.
But yeah, I was.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was a fun fact.
That is a fun fact. It's how weird. I don't know anybody else with a web toe, I don't think.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. How long until you started actually being able to run again?
It was probably, I need to go back and I'll look at my data.
How do you document too, by the way?
Apple Watch.
Okay. This whole time.
Yeah, I wish I would have found Strava sooner. And
I know, yeah.
Man, I really do, because that would have been awesome. Because now what I have to do is like export the Apple Health data to then find a program to kind of aggregate it.
Yeah.
Because I did find Strava this year. And
not until this year.
I know.
Yeah.
It's sad. Now I'm like kicking myself, but
yeah.
it was able to go back and import, I don't know, 6 months worth of data,
Okay.
I think, but it kind of caps at that. So if
Okay.
anybody knows how to do that further, I would love to load in
somebody
all my
listening
stuff.
might
That would
might
be
have
amazing.
that insight. That'd be good.
And maybe there's a third-party app or something, but
Yeah.
that would be super cool. So I just really use the Apple Watch,
Okay.
and I would just monitor everything through there. So I could go back and look because I don't exactly remember. I know it was much sooner than I probably should have. And I was still kind of running on the outside a little bit.
Yeah.
The second problem that developed, which is TMI for sure, but if ever anybody ever breaks their toe, here's what to expect, is the toenail falls off. So it fell off, but it builds like a hard callus. So it's not as painful as what you'd think because you've already gone through like the most painful part.
Yeah.
But as that toe regenerates and grows, which our bodies are such miracles.
It is
like,
crazy.
It's crazy.
It's nuts how it works. Yeah.
But your toenail will regrow.
Okay.
So as it regrows, it's making its way up, over time. It takes
Yeah.
about a year and it grows up, but it got towards the end and you have to be really diligent because that's where you get an ingrown toenail. Because what happened is your toe, how our toenails are kind of curved and like you have the toe bed on the sides. And at the top of your toe, it's like kind of creased.
Yeah.
Well, when you don't have a toenail, it rounds out. So your toe becomes round because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So as it's growing, so I got an ingrown toenail that took me months to get resolved. I should have gone into
I was just thinking, I was
a
like,
doctor.
and you still didn't go to a doctor.
I know, but it was so painful. And it's funny because you hear this and you're like, wow, there's so much toughness in that. I am weak. I am a wuss of all wusses. And I don't like pain. I hate pain. So I don't like going to the doctor. I hated getting shots.
Yeah.
Like I still hate shots. I ended up getting some tattoos to kind of try and get over that fear.
Interesting.
Which I think those are more painful than a shot. But
yes.
Yeah, anyway, so I didn't go in. I should have. It took longer to heal. And ingrown toenails are terrible for runners.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Broken toe, ingrown toenail.
Yep.
Just fighting through it.
Fighting through it.
So, and also in the meantime, you're probably like building businesses too. So like, how do you spend hours a day hobbling on your feet to get it in?
You just prioritize it. If you have the one thing that you need to get done, everything else falls after that.
Okay.
And so I am always a proponent of doing your most important work in the morning first thing.
Yeah.
Everybody has a morning. Like I understand schedules are different. People might work third shift, second shift. I get it. But you still have a morning. And so I think we all underestimate the power of an effective morning routine.
Yeah.
To clear our minds, reset our minds, do something healthy for our body, do the scientific things that we know happen when we work out and exercise with endorphins flowing and just heart health and all that, and then get into your day. And there's so much science around what happens to our brains and our bodies when we sleep. We're restored. There's miraculous things happening as we sleep. And if you enter your day just waking up, going straight to your phone, going right into work, jazzing yourself with caffeine immediately, like you're building really, really bad habits. So if you just shift that and say, okay, what's the one thing that I need to do? And if it is working out or running, whatever it might be, do that, win the day with that, and then everything else falls into place.
So what time do you get up?
So it's changed.
Yeah.
We had our first child about a year ago, a little over a year ago. And I've always been a morning person. So I would get up, 5, 6. I get up at 4 now, naturally. And it's not a statement of pride. It is, I go to bed at 8:30 and my body wakes me up at between 4 and 4:30 almost every day. It's always interesting changing time zones too, because it wasn't 4 here, but it was 5.
Yeah.
And it's still, like clockwork. So I've just found that part of learning my body and my level of performance, both as an entrepreneur, as a husband, now as a father, as an athlete, as a runner, that if you really pay attention to what your body's telling you and you lean into that and you scrap all the stuff that culture tells you about time management and focus on energy management, you can do things that you never thought possible. And I just really encourage anybody that's struggling with that always has this pull of like this work-life balance lie that's out there, because it's impossible. You're always going to be oscillating one way or the other. And invert it and think more in terms of your energy and how you can structure your day to get the best performance out of yourself. Then you can do amazing things. And so for me, it's getting up at 4. I get right into reading the Bible in prayer time, which sets my mind. And in my opinion, it puts me in a space where I'm humble I am grateful, and I know that no matter what comes along in the day, that I can handle it, that I've got strength that's not just inside of myself. And so then that leads to writing. So mentally, I'm in a great creative space. I've had some espresso. I've switched from plain coffee to just espresso. It's better on your stomach. Total side note. It's less acidic. And it just makes me feel a lot better. So do that. Then I write. I do writing on LinkedIn. I do that every day, except for Sunday. It's been so beautifully therapeutic. And I just feel like there's so much inside of me that I've wanted to share. And it's kind of fun to, work through that. And then I go run. And then after a run, I do a workout. And I'm ready to go most mornings around 9 a.m. And then I get into work.
So when you run, do you always run outside?
I do, with exception of it being dark.
Okay.
Now. So the asterisk here is within the last 100 days, I started recording and doing this because I felt like part of what I was hearing earlier this year was a word, and it was to emerge. Emerge was the word. And that's when I started writing on LinkedIn. And then later in the year, in the summertime, I just felt like I was supposed to start recording and having conversations, because year 6, the thing that I've learned is that this is all about community. I've been doing this in the background.
Right.
Most people didn't know about it
Which is crazy. Like, I think about the world I'm in with runners and like, let's call it influencers and stuff like that. It's like, everybody be shouting it from the rooftops. Like, hey, look at me.
Yep. No, it's been, over 5 years of just people around me know.
Yeah.
Like, the teams that I work with, colleagues, my wife, our family, some close friends, like they know what I'm doing, but it's never been public. So I knew like I was supposed to come out and do this more in a community aspect, not in building a community, but just sharing the story. Yeah. Because it is important, and it's just rooted in obedience. That's the whole point, is just be obedient to what you're supposed to do, and do it one day after another. And if you do, you stack enough wins to where you build this like undeniable evidence that you can. Yeah. And that does turn into discipline, and it does turn into consistency, and it does turn into resilience. And it turns into all these things, and what ends up happening, and this happens to be biblical as well, is like people start trusting you more because you're a person that shows up, right? And like in the world that we're in and entering, falseness and lies and non-truth is more rampant than ever, and it will continue to be that way. And so what it's going to do in our brains, which it's already doing, which you can see in all the data about anxiety, fear, depression, like it just builds and builds and builds and builds. Because it's designed to. So the more that you can root back in the truth and ultimately, build confidence inside of yourself that you can, the better. And so you start to, pursue that. But yeah, it's been one that's been rather private, but now very public.
Now it's very public. Yeah. So, okay. Do you ever run with people?
So I started to. So part of this running was me just having a camera in front of me.
What do you use? Do you have a GoPro?
So I had a GoPro, and So I've done the YouTube thing before with one of our other phases of life of RVing. Yeah. And the GoPro, I didn't like the color grading in it. And, there's some, I know you would love to talk about, others will not care, so we won't go there. But I ended up switching to the DJI Osmo Action 5 is what it is. Yeah. It's amazing. I love that little camera. And it's like $300, maybe $250 if you can find it on sale. So I just have a little selfie stick and have that at the end. I got a microphone that wirelessly goes with it. And then part of an idea I had one of the days when I was running is like, why don't I run with other people and we talk and have a conversation? Yeah. And so I tested it out with a buddy, and it worked. And so now I try and do that as much as I possibly can. And getting into one of the things that you pointed out is one of the goals that I have for 2026 is to do a 5K in 50 states in 50 days. Because I need to spice it up.
Quick break in the show to tell you about my own business. I suppose since this episode talks a lot about entrepreneurship, I would love to tell you about Athlete Bouquets. It is a run gifting business that helps celebrate the finish lines and milestones of the people you love. So think edible arrangements, but all the goodies that you need for a race or after a race. And they are in customized designs. I also make temporary tattoos, stickers, ornaments, sweat towels. And so if you would like to check out Athlete Bouquets, you can go to athletebouquets.com and use code podcast for 10% off your order. Thank you so much for supporting me and my business. And now back to the show.
And getting into one of the things that you pointed out is one of the goals that I have for 2026 is to do a 5K in 50 states in 50 days. Because I need to spice it up. Like,
let's mix
mine as well, right?
It's not that hard to run a 5K every day. So
anymore, it's not. Like, it's so easy.
Which is, it's just interesting to wrap my head around and think about the discipline of that. But yeah, 50. Okay, so that's going to be...
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
The logistics, really.
Right.
It's not the physical aspect of it.
Totally.
But, I threw a test post out to LinkedIn because there's so many amazing people there. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you guys think? And I kept it pretty brief, very intentionally, because part of that 10-year goal is what I know I'm supposed to be doing is raising a bunch of money for charity. And so that's why, again, being more public about this too, we've got 3.5 years to build to that. I think this is the first time I've publicly said this, but I want to raise $10 million is my goal. And so we've got a long ways to go to get there.
Wow.
I want to do it at the end of 10 years. I'm going to do a run across the United States. And so I don't know the timing of like how long it's going to take. I haven't mapped that far out yet. I haven't even thought about it other than just knowing what that goal is.
Yeah.
But in that process, that's where I'm saying I want to raise $10 million by doing that across the United States. So I think this 5K in 50 states in 50 days is a really interesting warm-up lap, all puns intended, to figure out how to do that. So I knew that charity was going to be a piece of it. I just didn't drop that in the post to see if people picked it up, and they did. And so what I'm working through now, which we have some planning time, that I think would be really cool, is in every state find a cool place to run in that state that's logistically possible, and then do it with either one person or multiple people, and have a conversation, just like I'm already doing, with the guest runners, and then find some folks that are in those states or in those cities that have influence that can rally, people in that community to raise money for a specific cause. So still working through some of those details, but it's definitely going to be very, very philanthropic, and I'm going to put in all the money personally to fund the travel and do all the things. And then anybody else that wants to be a part of it and run as we travel, all invitations are out there. I think it'd be so much fun.
Well, when you come to Indiana for your 5, you got to tell me. We will do it up.
Yes, yeah. It's going to be mapped out. So I've got a plan in terms of, how to kind of do it. ChatGPT has been very helpful in this capacity.
He's a great travel companion. For
sure. And so we'll have, some logistics to figure out, but I'm going to start building a list of who the runners are going to be in every state.
Yeah.
And, communicate well in advance, and we'll have plenty of heads up. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be so cool to watch.
It's going to be cool.
So will you do it in an RV?
So I think so. I think part of it will be, because the other thing, there's, and this is an important point that I think we all forget. There's nothing in the pursuit of a goal that's worth sacrificing anything in your family, period. Like absolutely nothing. There's nothing in this world that would fulfill you to the point of having done harm to your family, period. So for me, doing this 50 days away from my family is non-negotiable. That is never going to happen. I can barely do 48 hours as it is now. So we happened to have RV'd before for 3 years full time, and know everything there is to know about it. So there will be some states, obviously logistically, that I have to fly to. Hawaii and Alaska.
There's that.
So those will be flights. But the way that I've been working with ChatGPT to map it out would be, via driving mostly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When you have a lot more control, obviously, too.
Yep. And a fun fact is you can actually drive to all 48 states in 50 days, and that's only about 3 hours of driving per day on average.
Whoa.
There are days that are a little longer because you get to stretches like California, out west predominantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do it in less than 3 hours driving.
That's so interesting. Okay. I want to use this opportunity to talk about the RVing you did, because that was such a cool time of your life.
Yeah, it was fun.
So you and Christina decided to just hit the road. So tell people about that. How did you decide to do that? What was that like?
The short version is we were living outside Nashville, Tennessee at the time. This is 2020. So you would hear that initially and be like, oh, this is a COVID story. It really wasn't. It happened to be kind of an accelerant because we were faced with the opportunity, A, to do it, and then B, it was like, well, COVID's going on, so let's just go do this.
Yeah.
So we ended up talking about it early 2020, so years and years. And I forget what I paid for it. Call it like $800 or something.
Yeah.
I sold it for more than what I bought it for and had used it for all of those years.
That's crazy, Sean.
And
that is so funny.
It was awesome. So then we just kind of got addicted. And
it's like a game. Yeah.
The same thing was happening with our furniture. We're like, oh my gosh, we just looked back at what we paid for that couch, and we just sold it for the same amount that we bought it for, and we sat on it for 3 years, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so anyways, that process, we just kind of weeded through stuff, and then we got to the point of basically just having clothes and some other things.
Yeah.
We did get a small storage unit and put what we didn't sell through in that, things that we didn't want to sell, memories, keepsakes, that sort of thing. We got an RV November 11th, 2020. We left, didn't look back. And really what we were doing was we had a golden retriever, just one at the time. Now we have two.
Which one was it at the time?
This was Nash.
That was Nash.
So Nash, we had just gotten certified as a therapy dog. A therapy dog is one that can be for yourself, but the way that we were doing it is to serve and volunteer in our community. So we were going to a children's hospital and then an after-school program and taking Nash as a therapy dog and just hanging out with kids, basically. And so we just saw not only joy in our hearts from doing that by selflessly giving time, but we saw it in Nash. You know, it's like his purpose came to life. And we ended up just having this idea of what if we could just go volunteer around the country as we did this. And we put an actual tour together called the Pause for Love Tour. And there was a TV network that got a hold of the story and reached out and said, hey, do you want to do a TV show? Initially, I didn't really want to because that's really what it wasn't about. And going back to my story,
right.
a 3-wing 4 on the Enneagram, I'm like, I don't really want that kind of attention because it builds this pride in me and I don't really want that. But it got to a point where I felt very confident of like, okay, I know how to handle this. Like I've got a full understanding of myself now at this point and we can do this. And so we did. And it was a ton of fun. We did that for a year. So that was all of 2020, the rest of 2020 and then all of 2021. And then anybody that's RV'd full-time knows you cannot see the entire U.S. in 1 year. It is way too short of a time.
Yeah.
So if anybody's planning to do that or wants to, you need more than a year. Every single family that we have met on the road did the same thing. They did it thinking they were going to do it for a year.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 7 years later, people, are still full-time RVing. We did it for 3, almost right on the nose. And year 2 and 3 were amazing, but we just knew we wanted to start a family and we'd been waiting, a while to do that. So we came off the road officially November of 2023.
Okay. And
got a place down in Florida, just outside of Destin.
And now now you're in Destin,
yep.
And you split your time between Destin and Montana.
Yeah, so Montana, we've been spending the summers up there. We didn't do it this year because Coulter was really struggling with sleep. So we just felt getting his circadian rhythm set was, more important. And Montana, if you're not having sleep struggles, is beautiful in the summer because it's light out until midnight. And even then it doesn't really get dark.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful. But yeah, we've got a business that we're involved in up there. That's a Longhorn cattle ranch.
Okay.
So we've got that up there. Yeah.
That's so cool. I can't keep track of all you have done and continue to do when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's
addicting.
It's really incredible. Yeah. Well, and then I don't remember where this fits in, but I remember when you launched Nashies, the dog treats.
Yeah.
Where was that?
Yeah. So we started that in Nashville, named it after Nash,
yeah.
And started growing it, and it was going really well. I had a good friend that part of the story was I did get an MBA. I went to Notre Dame to do that.
That's right.
That was always a life goal. That was a box unchecked that I wanted to check. So did that. Met a wonderful guy that we became really good friends. And I was using his company to produce the treats. They were these freeze-dried treats. And so there's a deep, long story, but the short version is we ended up rolling Nashies into this freeze-dry company. We went out and raised a very large growth equity round and started growing that business over about a 5-year period of time. And so it just kind of rolled into everything that we were doing, over there. And now it's found in Costco. It got rebranded as something else called NutriBites, but
okay.
Yeah, it's all over Costco, cool. And it's a lot of fun.
That's crazy, Sean.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, I want to take a tangent and talk about Christina. How did you meet?
So go all the way back to the beginning of the story as an accountant in my first job. So
wow.
Here in Indy.
Did you work together?
Yeah. So she was on the marketing side.
Okay.
So not in a functional capacity, but if anybody from Indy remembers Slingshot SEO.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day.
Slingshot SEO.
Yeah, it was, that team was so
Who
cool.
ran that business?
So Jeremy, Kevin, and Aaron.
Okay.
Were the 3 founders of that. And then it just grew so fast. So I think I was employee 13. And by the time I had left there, after about a year, it was a little over a year, we were well over 100 employees at that time.
Yeah.
So it was rapid growth. But she came in as a marketing intern, and we had, maybe 2, 3, 4 conversations over the course of a year because we didn't really overlap in terms of function. Very short version is I decided to move to California. So started that business, decided to make the move out there. And my parents had moved outside of LA, so just wanted to go be closer to them at that point.
And this is separate from the time you went to California for the large format business.
This is the same time.
Or it is the same time.
This was actually the same time.
Okay,
so
I guess that makes sense because you were just, because
Yep.
you were just out of school.
Yep, I was just starting that.
Okay, so that's the same time.
So we end up, having a few conversations, and I had never really used Twitter, but I guess I had an account. And she sends me a direct message, and she's like, "Hey, I heard you're moving. Would you want to go grab lunch to say goodbye?" And I was like, "This is a little weird.
This is
like
so
I've
weird.
never
That's
really
so
talked
cute.
to her."
Yeah.
But sure, why not? And our schedules didn't work, but we ended up going to dinner. And this is a funny part of the story, because me being an accountant and a numbers guy, I had always taken the stance of there's 7 billion people on the planet. So you can't make an argument with me where you would win, in my opinion, where you could say that any more than, or I'll say it this way, you could spend your life with, pick 12 people and have an equally fulfilled life at the end of the day, that there's not one person for each person. But when we went to dinner, that whole thing went out the window, like truly. It wasn't that it was like love at first sight, because I had already seen her, but I knew, and she knew at the same time. We didn't tell each other that, obviously, because that's like
that'd be a
stalker
little
status,
much, yeah.
right, in the moment. But as we unpacked this over, the course of months, we both, went back to that dinner, and we just knew like we were supposed to be together forever.
But you left.
So, yeah.
So did you so how did that dinner end? You're just like, okay, see you later.
So I had the U-Haul. I think I rented budget, actually, was what it was, but it was packed. It was ready to go, literally ready to go. And I called them and I was like, "Hey, I have this for a week," because it takes a week to drive. Well, you could do it faster, but I drove from here to California in a week. I was like, "Can I extend this another week?" They were like, "Yeah, it's going to be X amount of dollars." Which it was in the thousands. So it was a big number. And I only say that to say, like, there was consequence. I didn't have that money. And I made a decision to put it off another week to pay that money, because I wanted to see what was here. And so I stayed for another week. I didn't even have like a bed, so I just pulled the mattress out and put it back in the room. Because fortunately, we had the place that we were at for another, I don't know, a couple of weeks or something, so we could make it work. But yeah, stuck around for another week. We went on pretty much a date like every day. And then I was like, I have to go, because I don't have any more money.
Yeah.
I can't keep spending money, and ended up moving. And then we found a way to, make it all work. And eventually she moved out to California.
How long did it take her to move? How long did it take her to move?
It wasn't
3
anymore.
weeks?
Well, I mean, we would have. So there's like, the details are always funny. So I was studying to be a CPA, and you have to have 150 credit hours. And so I went through that whole process and was starting to sit for the CPA and do the things. And there was something that came back that said, "Hey, the alpine skiing class that you took at IU, that was 3 credit hours, is actually not counting towards your credits of 150. Like, go figure.
Yeah.
Which, if that class is still at IU, take it, because it's amazing. For anybody that's younger listening.
That is interesting.
It was a ton of fun. Our final exam, we went to Aspen, Colorado for a week to ski.
Really?
To ski.
Not Perfect North?
No, not Perfect North. It was amazing. But anyways,
wow.
So what I didn't do was enroll in a graduate degree, A, because I only needed 3 hours, and B, graduate courses are like double the price of an undergrad credit. So I ended up just re-enrolling. I forget exactly what I did, but IU let me take a class. So I actually moved my stuff. Then I came back for 1 semester to take that class and get it done. And then at that point, Christina moved with me back to San Diego. So we moved all of her stuff out there. Yeah, so it was a little wild of a story, but
that's you've got some crazy stories.
It never ceases to amaze even me re-looking at life.
Yeah.
But
you're going to write a book? Have you written a book?
So that is funny that you asked that. I am in the process right now of evaluating companies to help me do that.
Cool.
Yeah. So yes, I will be writing one.
Yeah. Unlike what? Because holy cow, you could write a book just on living in an RV for 3 years.
Right.
You could write a book on just like your first business.
Right. So what it'll be is, I'll take a short story opportunity, because I do think these things are very important. So, me starting this journey, I knew that I was supposed to do it. So there was this depth of walk that I started to have with God that was deeper than I had before, because of my level of trust. And so I was back in Franklin earlier this year, and I hadn't been back through there for a while, and I was there for a meeting, and I was really close to where we lived in the hotel there. And I ran on the treadmill and got done, and clear as day, when I was done running, I just heard that same still small voice that I hadn't heard from that one point. "You're writing a book, and it's called Running into Discipline." And I initially verbally, I said no. Like, literally, it was like a reaction, because I don't want to write a book. I'm coming to like desire it now. So I should say I didn't want to write a book.
Yeah.
I didn't want what was expected of that. I'm involved in 6 different companies, and like I don't have time, and I know what's expected of that, and I don't want to be a public speaker and like all these things.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here wrestling with God on this when I'm stretching, after my run. and I can't make this up. I go back to the room. I get on LinkedIn to check something. I forget what I was even checking. I had never gotten a comment like this before, but this gal had posted a comment on one of my posts about how much she enjoyed writing a book. And it was like kind of related to the post that I had, but not at the same time. Like it was totally disconnected.
That's funny.
And it was really, really interesting. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then this was a Tuesday, I think it was. I go through that day, I go through the meetings, I get back. I have this meeting set for Friday that was supposed to be 2 weeks before. And this particular guy, his whole house got sick, like the flu kind of went through it, so we rescheduled. And I go to that meeting. I kind of knew who the guy was, but not the level of depth of the company that he worked for. And I get on the meeting, and long story short, they happen to be a company that helps entrepreneurs write books. And I didn't really connect the dots on that until we get into the call, and he's like, hey, it was almost kind of a verbatim question, because we went through some of the story. He was like, hey, you've just told me like 6 books that you've written. Have you thought about writing a book?
Yeah.
And that was in the same week. That was the 3rd confirmation of like, okay, I hear you. I'm supposed to be doing
like,
this.
okay.
Yeah. So that's what it's going to be about. It's going to be called Running into Discipline. We're working through like the story arc and the outline right now, but essentially it's going to be the lessons that I learned from each year of running, and then we'll do the 10-year goal, and then there'll probably be another book that comes out of that. And
yeah,
I don't really know where it's going, honestly. The thing that, if there's any takeaway from people that have made it this far, it's just be obedient. Be obedient to what you're supposed to be doing, and there's so much blessing on the other side of that. And it builds amazing things like discipline and resilience and consistency. And you can break through plateaus that you never knew existed. And it just makes you more trustworthy. People depend on you more. You get more that you can steward. You gain more influence in a good way. And I'm not saying like influencer way. I'm saying like with your family. Mm-hmm. Your kids start to trust you more. Your spouse trusts you more. And you, most importantly, build it within yourself. And you start to realize, hey, that goal or that dream that's been sitting up on the shelf that I haven't dusted off and I haven't thought about for 5 years, 10 years, I'm 50 years old and it's still so unattainable. Well, guess what? Like, pull it off the shelf. Like, build so much undeniable evidence inside of yourself in the form of confidence that in boldness you reach out for that and pull it off and dust it off and look at it and then go achieve it.
Make it sound so easy.
One step after another. We know that as runners.
One step at a time.
One step at a time.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'll read it.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll send you one of the first copies.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, over 6 years, every day.
Every day.
Does Christina ever run with you?
Actually, man, that is a great question. She's going to kill me if I get this wrong. I don't think that she has. I know we've done walks together, not in the context of like the 5K, but I don't think she has. Man, we might have to challenge her. Yeah. Right.
She's got to be in a video. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
We need to get her in there.
Get a jogging stroller.
Yeah,
do you have one?
No, it's on the list though.
Because now I think you have to wait till they're 1 in order to run with them.
Exactly.
Because I remember being like, what?
I know.
I'm ready to do it now.
I know, me too. I've practiced on the stroller we have in the front wheel, or, like the 2, they start going crazy. Uh-huh. And it wasn't anything more than just 100 yards or whatever. But right. That's one thing I want to do. We're very intentional too, and this isn't like, if anybody does do this, there's nothing wrong with this at all. We just personally have chosen not to share his face or picture on social media.
Oh yeah, okay.
Just because like I don't know what's coming with AI, and we talked about that as a family, and we were just like, well, at least for now, maybe we'll change our mind, but at least for now, we're not going to do that. So I've wanted to run with him in the videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But I go back to that and I'm like, I forgot we're not doing that.
Right. So, I know. Well, yeah.
It's kind of a bummer, but we'll hold to that.
Well, I'm sure there's editing where it'll just put a blur spot there or something like that for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm okay. I'll be ready to watch that video with Christina.
Okay. We'll get her on there.
Yeah. You'll get her on there. How can people who are listening, who are like really resonating with your journey that's going to come in the summer, like how can our community help connect you to people in different states? Like my head's already spinning, like, okay, who can I connect you with?
I would say exactly that. So I'm most present on LinkedIn, and I know some people don't have that. So I'm working on trying to spin up, X, and
you got to do all the other stuff,
Substack and all of them. The thing that I think we all have to remember too is in the things that we pursue, build what you can be consistent at. So that's why I
Yeah.
haven't pursued that yet, because I know
Yeah.
I can't yet be consistent
it's
in it.
really hard.
So like, do what you say, do what
Yep.
you want to do, control your controllables, and go all out. So I will eventually get there, but LinkedIn is a great place. And to your exact question, I would love to know people to run with in all these states.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly when I'm going to be doing this yet. I'm still building the plan. It's likely going to be late summer, early fall. I think
Okay.
that's when I can tag weather kind of the best in all areas, and also people aren't traveling a ton, you know, at the conclusion of summer. And I think it'll just be more feasible, you know, to be able to do that. So we have plenty of time. So if you are listening to this and would love to run, let me know. That'd be amazing. LinkedIn would be the best place to do that. My email address is also Sean, which is SEAN @2529.ventures. So just shoot me an email. And then I started a YouTube channel and decided to do that about 100 days ago to document the runs.
Yeah.
And I've had enough people be like, hey, can I see your Apple Watch data to like know that you've done this? And
I
like,
totally can understand that.
Yeah,
Because
which-
you're like, did you really do
like,
this?
I know. And I would be in disbelief too. So that's why I really want to figure Strava out, because Strava is the place to do it.
Yeah.
There's also maybe an app or some software that I could just load everything in and just publish it.
Yeah.
So I am going to figure that out. And I know I'll need that ahead of the book too. But we'll get that dialed in. So yeah, just follow me on YouTube. And I just love to have conversations. So this is not a me story or a watch me story. It's let's do this as a community. Let's use it as something that I just felt I was supposed to do. And the only thing that I'm proud of in the whole thing is just being obedient. Like that's why I'm always going to come back to that, because that is the one source of pride that I do have, because I know what I've seen on the flip side of that in terms of blessing of just joy and peace and relationships and just all these things. And so I would just love to, you know, be on the journey with you guys. And if there's any conversations you want to have, I'm an open door. I love to have them. I love guest runners. So if you want to come down to the 30A area in the
Heck
dead
yes,
of winter, which
please.
most people do,
Run on the beach.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
run and we'll do it that way.
Yeah, I'm bummed we couldn't sneak it in
I know.
today.
Me too.
Although it's probably for the best, because holidays are coming up and I have a to-do list that is never
Endless.
ending.
Yes,
So
exactly.
yeah. Okay, well, I can't wait to follow this journey
I
with you.
appreciate that.
I'm just so excited that this worked out and I got to see you in
too.
person
This was awesome.
and hear so many stories. I literally could talk to you for the rest of the afternoon, Sean.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and people that are listening, this is our catch-up time.
It is,
that we're
yeah.
having too. So
Yeah.
this could be like 4 or 5 hours.
It
long.
really could be. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you the end of the podcast questions now.
Yeah.
The first one that I ask everybody is, what is your favorite running song and or mantra?
Okay. So I am gonna pick a genre.
Okay,
So it's not
that's
a
fair.
specific song, because I was thinking through this, and there are a couple in particular. But this is also fun fact time again. Is I love metal.
Oh, wow.
Heavy metal. Like
Shocked again.
The heavier, the more screaming, the thicker, the better.
Does Christina love it too?
Oh man, she hates it. And surprisingly, there's actually some really good Christian metal bands too.
That's
that
I
are
was
out there.
thinking that too.
Yeah. So if I had to be specific though, I will pick one. There's a band, and because I had to tee that up, because when somebody goes to look these guys up and listen to it, and they're like, "What? I just put that on in front of my kids."
Yeah.
And it is a Christian band, but it's a band called War of Ages, and it's
Okay.
a song called Laodicea.
Okay.
Which I'll spare the whole context of it, but it's just an awesome song. It gets you fired up. So that would be my song of choice.
Wow. Okay. And then mantra. Is there I feel like you probably have quite a few.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, what I would root back in is obedience.
Yeah.
So what I think about, not every run by any means, and now that I'm talking, it's like I don't do much thinking. And actually, just a total side note is try talking and running.
No,
And I'm not saying that as in like, oh, look at what I do. You shift your brain a little bit, what starts to happen, because it's like walking and chewing gum at the same time. You actually access a part of your brain that I never knew that I had, which means the level of depth of knowledge you pull from that, because your brain can't process and think through all these different things at the same time. So I encourage anybody to try that. Like have a conversation with yourself even.
Yeah.
Because it's really unique. But really it's just that obedience and just knowing that every run is fruit for me, and fruit specifically because of that obedience, and it's a joy.
Yeah.
And I love doing it. And I truly, like, there have been days, so I'm not fallible in this or however you say it, but there were days where I did not want to do the run.
There would have
Right.
to be.
Like,
especially if you have a newborn.
Yeah, like I did not want to, for sure. But now I look at it, and I don't know in the last year where I've had a day where I didn't enjoy it. And and maybe I'll oscillate back, and it'll be an unenjoyable thing at some point. But I just think that mantra of obedience I think about almost every time, and I'm just so grateful for it.
in watching you run and talk. It is so interesting to think about. Like I can barely do that if I'm trying to just take a quick video of myself like on the run. And if I speak, it's like, yeah, very breathy. You also, I noticed, say hi to absolutely everybody that you pass.
Yeah.
What percentage of people would you say reply or like wave or acknowledge?
Well, we live in the South, so I'd say most people. You can always tell who's not from the South because they usually don't.
Yeah.
Like, why is this person talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but quite a few. And, I had to go through this phase of being wildly awkward.
Or you're holding the selfie
awkward.
stick running around. People are like, you just got to get over it.
And I just got over it,
Yeah.
And anybody that has entered the realm of content as you have
Yes.
knows you just have to get over
It's
that.
so
part.
I'm still working through getting over it.
It's hard. And you feel vain at times, and like you don't want to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, and I think it was John Acuff that had said this, but he was like, if you believe what you have to share is worth sharing, then you have to know that you have to share it, right? And like you're offering something to the world by doing so, and they're getting value from it. And so
Yeah,
just
it's
unashamedly, like don't be a knucklehead about it, and
Right.
make it all about you
Yes.
and be vain. But
Right.
like, yeah, you have value. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and people need to hear that story.
Yeah. Kind of needed to hear that too, It's
Keep
one of those
going.
things where I started this podcast to share other people's stories and selfishly to be able to talk about running a lot. But, I've found by accident building a community as a result, and then being able to do things to build a community that adds value to others and, people who are running for different charities or causes or all the things. Like that really gets me fired up.
I love all that.
Yeah. $10 million you're going to raise. That's going to
Lord
make
willing,
a
but
big difference.
That's why we need everybody's help to do it.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last question is, what is your next finish line or milestone? Which now we already know kind of both of those things,
Yeah.
but we'll reiterate it.
Yeah. So the next one is going to be the 5K in 50 states of 50. Yeah. It's going to be so much fun. I'm very excited for that. And then, the one that will be after that will be the 10-year. Which will be, completing the 10 years, but then also doing it across the U.S.
What year will that be?
So that'll be, wow, I actually should have thought about that. So
you started when you were 33, so
yeah.
you're going to be 43, and you'll be 43 in 4 years.
Yeah, so it'll be 3.5 years from now, so 2028,
Okay.
I think. I could be off on that. Maybe it's 2029.
Doing math like live
I
is
know.
the most humbling
Well,
thing.
no, it would be 2029 because I started this in 2019
Okay.
was when it was.
Okay.
It was August of 2019.
2019.
So it'll be August of
29.
2029.
Whoa. Yeah. That's going to be here before we know
I know,
it.
it is.
Yeah.
Plenty of time to plan.
I forget what else I was going to ask you one other thing. Oh, about speed. Because that's something we end up talking about, finish times and
Yeah.
PRs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, do you think at all of, you probably don't if you're talking, but like for these like 5K races, do you think about, should I just like test my speed a little bit?
That's a dynamite question. So like the one I'm doing in 2 days on Saturday, because I've gone back and forth in my mind, and I was like, man, I would really love, because I haven't done a PR run since, I try and do them every birthday.
Okay, just to see,
so
just
on
to
the
go
1 year
out
mark.
and run.
Yeah, just
Okay.
to see like where I'm at. But I decided what I'm going to do is talk to people as I'm running.
Okay.
Because we live in a small market, so I looked at the registration the last time, like I think yesterday, and there's like 150 people signed up. So this is not a massive event. It's called
Yeah.
the Reindeer Dash. It's just our neighborhood
Cute.
that put
I
it on.
love it.
So it's nothing meaningful by any means. But in terms of your question of time, I don't do it for time. But what I will say that I've noticed in the last 100 days of doing this and talking, my level of cardiovascular health is better than I've ever been, and my lung capacity is better than it's ever been. So I did a run on the treadmill. I had a travel day, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, and I had never really paid attention because I'm running and talking at the same time in the last 100 days to my heart rate. And I was at almost 3 miles and not talking. So I'm doing like, a pretty decent run. I forget the pace I was at, but my heart rate was at 140. And I was like, this is crazy. And I'm almost done with the run. So I'm, well over 2 miles in, and my heart rate was at 140. So I start cranking the speed up, and it was like very challenging to get above 150.
Wow.
So meaning like my heart rate
Yeah.
has been dramatically affected by just talking. So anyways, just a total aside, but if I'm running, and everybody's going to hear this and be like, this dude's terrible in terms of like time. But when I run and talk, it takes me, because technically I do 3.3 miles, like 27 minutes roughly.
Yeah.
But that's talking at the same time.
That's still,
It's not
a lot of people,
super
this
fast.
is, there's people, wide variety of runners
Yeah.
on this podcast. So I feel like to one person that's going to be like, oh my gosh, that's so fast.
For sure.
And to the next person, it's
That's
like,
a great
okay,
point.
like, yeah, you're just like jogging around.
Yeah.
But it's all relative.
Yeah. So when I do my birthday runs, I try and be the 18 mark, which is when I'm really, really pushing.
That's cooking.
Yeah. But I would love, honestly, I don't know that I could ever get there, but if I did really want to throw a challenge to myself, it would be to try and get into that, 16-minute mark. Because for me, that would be very difficult.
Well, for anybody.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so I don't like the way that sounded as
Sorry.
I'm like replaying it and as you said that.
Sorry.
But I'm saying for someone who has done a 5K every day for 6.5 years, like that to me would put me back where we talked about junior year of high school, where I would really have to push myself.
Yeah.
But I know in my mind it's possible.
Yeah.
I would just have to really want it to do that.
Yeah. And goes back to the beginning with Accelerate Indiana.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Sean. It was
Thank
so
you.
fun to catch up and hear just a tiny bit of, all your stories.
Absolutely. No, this was so much fun. And thank you for doing what you do. This is amazing. I think this is a wonderful asset and tool that we have that you're building, and just absolutely love it. So you've got a new subscriber forever.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who has listened, and happy running. If you enjoyed this episode of Finish Lines and Milestones from SandyBoy Productions, you know the drill. Go share, rate, review. Make sure you follow Sean. He's on LinkedIn most frequently, and his email is sean@2529.ventures, so you can connect with him in either of those places. He is also on YouTube and Instagram, and I am also on Instagram if we're not friends yet. I'm Allie, ALLYT Brett. That's ALLYT Brett, BRETT _runs. Looking forward to having you again next week. Have a good one. Bye.